In a world filled with sniveling snowflakes, where timeouts and safe places are abundant, where there's 37 genders to scroll through on a job application. Not that they have jobs. We're proud to be your salvation and your beacon to unabashed, in-your-face talk. This is Stars, Bars, and Cigars, the no-holds-barred conservative talk show hosted by battle-tested vets. Lock and load and get ready for an explosive journey through breaking news, the rich tapestry of constitutional history, and the pulse-pounding realities of Army and Navy life. Oh, and yeah, cigars. Stars, Bars, and Cigars. And now your hosts, Jimmy the Bull and Tig Tigger.
Hey, Patriots and Snowflakes. Tiggs, how are ya?
I'm doing well. Little sinus problems here, but I don't think it's going to affect my ability to speak. How are you?
I'm doing well. I don't have a sinus infection going on or anything, so I got a slight headache. Maybe it was the beer I had earlier today or something. I don't know, but
Youngling?
No, actually, I had an amber bock. I went out and grabbed a little bit of food there before for dinner.
So you lowered your standards.
Yeah, I did. So tonight, do you think China will retaliate with aggression? Stick around and find out.
Yeah.
But first, Tig, what are you smoking?
Well, I am smoking one of our favorite go-to cigars, the Don Kiki Red Label Limited Reserve Toro, put out by Karen Berger. See, I went with the red label tonight because since we're going to talk about red China, might as well have the red label. Red and gold, just the colors of our one and only, well, not only, but big-time enemy. And they are our enemy, folks. Anyway, moving on. Yes, this is a Toro. It's got about 52 gauge, 6-inch cigar. Toros are kind of my favorite these days. This is aged 3 years. Medium bodied. Gets about a 4 out of 5 stars for a cigar. It is a very outstanding cigar, as most Don Kikis are, especially for about $5 or $6, folks. Pretty impressive for that low a price. It's got a long filler Cuban seed Habana tobacco. It's handmade. It is sun-grown. The binder and the wrapper is all sun-grown. So it has notes of licorice, notes of cedar, kind of like a sweet toasted nuts, and a little bit of cocoa.
Yum.
And it is a good cigar, folks, because these Don Kikis, if you can find them, any Don Kiki, like we said, I've tried many, many Don Kikis and have never had a bad one yet, especially for the price.
Right. And, Karen Berger's paying homage to her late husband, Don Kiki. So
Yeah. So
how it gets its namesake.
Yeah, Don Kiki. Yes, it is a very good cigar. I think I got this online at Cigars Crafters, I believe.
Yeah.
A company called Cigars Crafters. They sell all kinds of Don Kikis.
Yeah, I've been trying to work out some deals with some of these cigar companies to see if they'd like to either sponsor us or affiliate with us. So
put our label on a cigar.
What's that?
Put our label on a cigar. What are you smoking there? It looks pretty interesting to me.
This here is a Macanudo Inspirado Black, and it is a very dark, oily wrapper.
And a very tasty cigar at that.
Oh, yeah, this is really super good. This one here is a 7x48. I think it's called a Corojo or something like that. Maybe it's the size of it.
Like a Churchill.
Yeah.
7x48, like a Churchill.
Yep.
Yeah.
And this one here has a rich, oily wrapper. and it's got a Nicaraguan blended.
You like that? You like that oily stuff?
Oily wrapper.
Yeah.
Not to confuse with the Diddy oil. But
I'm not surprised you said that. Not
Yeah.
surprised at all.
Not to confuse. It is a full bodied cigar, so it might be a little bit much for a beginner, and maybe beginner, intermediate smoker might enjoy this, but it is a tasty stick. Flavors include a little bit of spice, dark chocolate, coffee, nuts. I'm getting kind of a cocoa flavor, and I say it's supposed to go all the way through, so we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, that's a mighty nice cigar there.
Yeah, how was your week, man?
Oh, my week was pretty good, pretty busy. A little bit of this, a little bit of that. I was out on the bike today after work for a little bit.
Did you?
Nothing like a good
I
old
tried-
Harley ride.
Yeah, I tried firing mine up, but the battery's dead, so I gotta throw the charger on and see if it'll come to life, or else I'm gonna go out and buy a new one.
Just charge that up. You know what you should do, though? You should get a battery tender and have that thing plugged in year round. It extends the life of your battery when you have those battery tenders. I do that with my bike all year round, and then it just fires right up after winter.
Yeah.
So it's a good investment.
I'm getting a nice toasty cocoa flavor off of this one. That's pretty
Oh,
nice.
yeah? Looks like it's cocoa. It looks like a cocoa cigar. You know, you and I, we got to get out on the Harley together sometime.
Yeah, let's do it, man.
We'll put the ladies on our bikes and we'll go and take a little ride.
Take a ride on the wild side.
Yeah.
Go down to Poopies or something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we can go right down to Savannah. Savannah's always a great ride.
Oh,
Savannah, Illinois. Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Savannah, Illinois is like a miniature Sturgis, folks.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you are into riding motorcycles and you get around the Midwest area, Savannah, Illinois is a good place to ride your motorcycle to.
Yeah.
They've got it's a haven for bikers. They've got Poopies, which I call the Walmart for bikers, basically. It's like your one-stop shop. You got music, you got lots of food, bar and grill style, beer, drinks, burnout pit.
They got a Jeep trail.
Yeah, they got a souvenir store, shirts and sweatshirts and patches and all that stuff. I think they got a tattoo parlor there too. And then they've got a real bikers type of little bar on the main street called the Iron Horse Social Club.
Yeah.
They usually have a little band there, and if you've never been there, you go in there, they got a big Iron Horse statue, and then in the back they have all these antique motorcycles right there in a bar, you know. You can walk through. It's like a miniature museum. Yeah. So that's a good place, you know, all you bikers out there, get to Savannah, Illinois if you ever get, you know, if you get in the Midwest. Yeah, you know, it's a great little ride.
All right, let's roll into our program, Tig.
Yes.
China. The only enemy who is allowed to infiltrate the United States, pretty much.
And they did it in a big way. And it's really sad that we have traitors for politicians that are commies themselves.
Yeah.
They've sold out. You know, we got guys like Congressman Eric Swalwell, who slept with a Chinese spy and gave out all kinds of information. You know, we've got a senator, Mitch McConnell's married to a Chinese woman, and you know the list goes on. And these people have sold out. I mean, even in your local cities, folks, look up in your city if they have a sister city from China. They got what they call these little sister cities, and they say, "Oh, it's just a friendship thing, share business ideas and all that." That's nonsense. It all goes back to CCP. And then look into it and see how many are council members or city managers or even mayor. Look how many times they've made trips to China and have come back, and wonder if they have taken pocket money to sell
Mike
you guys.
Walls is a big fucking CCP sellout.
Oh, Tim or Mike?
Tim. I'm sorry. Yeah, Tim.
Tim from Minnesota. Yeah, governor. Yeah, he's a piece of crap. So we're going to talk a lot about China tonight, I think, from top to bottom. I kind of studied the culture a little bit when I took up martial arts and stuff. I've done some Chinese martial arts, and that's all fine and dandy, and the food's all fine and dandy. Of course, you can't trust the food half the time. You never know what's in the meat. Anyway,
Well, it's just like if you go to Walmart, everything you buy there is pretty much from China. Fuck
that's another
everything.
thing too. They have taken over our businesses. They rely heavily on the United States dollar for business. I'm glad Trump put tariffs on them, and now they put 125% tariff on U.S. goods. So the war's on. The tariff
Right.
war's on. But you cannot trust these people. Since when does a constitutional republic make friends with a communist country?
Right.
It's treason, folks. They're not our friends. Okay.
No.
I'm not saying all Chinese people are bad. Many of them want freedom too. Not all of them are bad. But, in China, only 10% are Christian. That tells you right there. And it's very limited to what they can do for public services and stuff, because in China, you're not allowed to be religious.
No.
And they are the leaders. Their government, the CCP, are the leaders in human rights violations.
Yep.
Look at what they did during COVID. They locked people in their apartments, wouldn't let them come out for weeks. They starved. Half of them committed suicide. The people did. What a joke.
And I don't know if you've come across this much, Tig, but I've been noticing, a number of different influencers are saying that the population's down. And, I'm wondering if they're taking a lot of this population and repopulating other areas, because like I saw this video of Singapore, and this young gentleman, rented out like this huge apartment, and he was like one of 4 people in the whole building. So it was like pretty bizarre.
Well, I'll tell you what, they also have a limit on how many kids you can have per household. They really are into depopulation. China is overpopulated as it is.
1.4 billion supposedly.
And now the country, the New World Order agenda, and our country, the United States, they're trying to pattern the cities after Chinese cities, 15-minute cities, smart cities and stuff. Right. So, clearly our politicians, locally, state level, federal level, clearly are trying to pattern after communist China. All right. Our country is full of treasonous people in government. But not only that, they have allowed so many Chinese to come in here and infiltrate. And don't tell me that the foreign exchange students don't go back to their country, to the CCP, and answer all kinds of questions. Don't tell me they're not spies. All right. And gosh, you want to talk about treason? You want to talk about allowing infiltration? Remember the balloon? Remember the spy balloon? Allowed it to go all the way across the country? Yeah. Not only that, they own a whole bunch of
stop there
land.
Tig. The bad thing is Joe Biden allowed this.
Yeah.
He allowed them sons of bitches to fly that balloon across the United States.
And his
pictures of our fucking military bases.
And his piece of crap Secretary of Defense, and that piece of garbage woke military they created. They didn't give two shits about China spying on us and then buying. They have got land outside of 17 military bases across the nation, let alone they own agricultural land in Illinois, the state of Illinois. They're all over the place. They share our electric grids. They could easily put us in darkness. They could easily shut everything down. They could shut our military defenses off by hacking into it because they're that freaking close. Yeah. Then arrests over the last few years, arrests have been made by Chinese United States military people for selling some of our secrets to China. We allowed them nips in our military? Are you kidding me? The fact that we have allowed their businessmen here, we have allowed their people here, they've got little police stations set up. they're hidden and they're very secretive and they're very intelligent. Their kids are more intelligent than our kids because our schools shit.
Right.
Our public education system is an indoctrination system and not an actual education system. So the level of our intelligence in our children going all the way up to adulthood is getting worse compared to the Chinese that are getting smarter through the generation climb. All right. They have infiltrated us. That makes me, I talked to you about that bull about could we see him ever see the Red Dawn scenario when if they get pissed off enough at us? Because right now we're about to hit a trade war, and their stocks just plummeted a little bit too this week. I think
their whole
quite a bit actually.
Actually, their whole economy is in some serious trouble right now.
Mhm.
I mean, they're shutting down, big plants and stuff. So, and he can't afford to have businesses going down.
Yeah. Well, and imagine this. Remember, if you go back to why Japan bombed Pearl Harbor, we had some serious embargoes against them, and the Japanese country was literally economically falling apart. People were starving and stuff. So they felt they had no choice but to bomb us,
Right.
Because they weren't friends with Germany. They weren't really up in Hitler's agenda into that. They're from the East. They have a whole different culture and mindset. They didn't care about what Hitler wanted to do. But the fact was, the United States was hitting them hard back then. And so that's why they attacked us. And I can see China doing the same thing. Only difference is China's infiltrated us. So now they can attack us from within, and they could do that, through technology.
Right. And, not to mention, I mean, there's probably 1 million freaking Chinaman army here as well. Cause, they got all these police stations, is what they call them, air quotes, police stations.
This is why we need to, and I've heard people say this before. Well, it's illegal to form a militia in the United States. Well, former governor of South Dakota, Kristi Noem, didn't seem to think so when she was talking about it when we had all our illegals coming across the border. And the fact is, it's fully constitutional. So what laws are we talking about here? Are we talking about corporate United States law, or are we talking about constitutional law? Because corporate laws that violate our Constitution are null and void. Screw that. We have the right within our Constitution and our Second Amendment to actually form and regulate our own militia, because we, the people, are the militia, as spoken in past podcasts that we went over. Therefore, we need to be prepared, folks, against the possibility of having an internal fight with Chinese people that have infiltrated this country, let alone the fact that we've got terrorists from the Middle East that came over here illegally, that have set up probably terrorist cells. We're going to have a whole lot of problems in the future here. So be prepared, folks, man. This is some serious stuff here. People cannot afford to be complacent. China is our number one enemy. We should never be friends with communists. And this is what makes me sick about the Democrat Party. They're communists. All right. You look up communism, and it says it's a far left ideology and form of government. All right. They are commies, and there's nothing good about communism, because even though they may in colleges make it sound all pretty and make it sound all great, let me tell you something. You're giving up individual freedoms and liberties. And there is nothing more important in this world than individual freedom and liberty. That's why our founders fought so hard for it, folks. China is a communist country. They are our enemies. And those who have taken money from them and have sold us out to them, which is much of Congress and the Senate, they're traitors. And there is no place in this country for commies.
No.
So we need to start fighting back on this, and we need to stop voting for far leftists. Stop voting for the AOCs, them commies. They are treasonous. They are our enemy.
You saw that clip I sent you for AOC and Schumer, right?
Well,
They got AOC winning that election.
You know what though? The thing is, there's no seat that would be flipped
No.
because okay, she's just taking the place of Schumer, just a
right.
younger version, except a communist version.
Right.
How long would she last in the Senate? She's too
Right.
stupid to be in the Senate for one thing. She is too stupid and unqualified to be in the Senate. She shouldn't even be in Congress.
No,
She's
she shouldn't.
She shouldn't be. And so, you know, if she leaves Congress to run against Schumer, you know, maybe a Republican might be able to take that seat in New York.
Yeah.
Possibility, maybe.
I don't know. New York
Or she beats Schumer and defeats that old fart, that traitor, that piece of crap garbage pail that he is.
Dickweed. Yeah.
And then she runs and gets defeated by a Republican.
Yeah, that'd be good.
Could be a chance. So it's really not a threat to conservatives so much as it's just a dingbat move.
Yeah.
You know, it's just
it's got Soros written all over it. You know, I think Schumer pissed everybody off when he voted for Trump's deal. You know.
Yeah. Well, he's on his. He don't care. He knows he's on his way out anyway.
Yeah. He's made his millions anyway, so
he could retire before she even runs against him. Yeah. You know, he could retire anytime he wants. He's old. Yeah. So getting back to China. Okay, where should we go with this? More so. I got all kinds of notes on China just to keep my memory going with this. Let's
got through the spying, so.
Oh yeah. And the infiltration and the fact that they're around our military bases. This is all total disaster. This tactfully is a total disaster.
Right.
Would you let some foreign? I mean, obviously we did, but back in the day, okay. Let's go back to Troy, Helena Troy. Let's do some history. Okay, they weren't about to let the Spartans or the Greeks in their fort. So they had to set up acting like they left, and then they set up a big horse and they all got inside so they could be pulled. So when they took the gift, as they thought it was, the Trojans took the gift, they brought it inside their fort, and then they had infiltration, and then they were massacred. Okay. Yeah. Same thing, folks. For years, our politicians have sold us out and they've betrayed us. They're all treasonous, and they've allowed all these Chinese to infiltrate inside. They've allowed them to buy up land. They've allowed them to spy on us. They've allowed them to join our military. They've allowed them to set up land and buy land all around our bases, all across the United States. Oh my gosh. Tactfully, that's a disaster. That's a disaster. Every single person in our military and every single veteran ought to be shaking their heads and just total disbelief. You know, we ought to be setting up an organized militia all over the place to protect us from when they try to lower the hammer on us. Yeah. Because it's coming. They're going to get pissed off because they're going to be desperate. Their economy is going to shit. And they rely on us.
I'm seriously thinking, you know, if they do anything, it'd probably be like another bioweapon, you know, like.
And that's another thing they're responsible for, with the help of a certain bunch of treasonous people, bureaucrats in this country, is the COVID deal, the Wuhan lab. They're, you know, nothing really good is really coming out of China. Nothing.
No.
You know, it's and I think it's funny, the coincidence of COVID.
Yeah.
They set up that bioweapon and they unleashed it at the point where the Chinese government at the time, and people, they didn't show this much on they didn't show it at all on fake news.
No.
But people of China were in the streets basically holding up Trump signs, basically saying we want freedom.
Yeah.
And it was embarrassing the Chinese government, and they didn't know how to control it because they didn't want another Tiananmen Square. So, because that's an international incident all over it if they're killing their people with the military. So instead what they did, boom, all of a sudden, a couple of weeks after that embarrassing protest from the people, COVID's unleashed.
Yeah.
Imagine that. Imagine the timing of that.
Yeah, well, not only that, it went hand in hand, you know, with all the fucking mail-in ballot bullshit that, you know, the the Democrats used to cheat the fucking election out
Well,
with.
that's because Democrats have a lot of Chinese friends that hacked into the systems and made made the machines actually spit out double votes and stuff like that. Because damn well Biden did not have 80 million votes.
Well,
Never.
no, I mean Trump had a landslide victory on this last, election,
Yeah.
and he had what almost 80,000. It wasn't quite 80,000 or 80 million votes, and Biden beat him. Fuck.
Yeah. No way.
No.
Of course, to play the devil's advocate, Harris wasn't exactly any more popular than Biden this time around. I mean,
No,
when
she's a dingbat.
she was when she ran against Biden in 2020 during the Democrat primaries, she was only like hitting 1% in the nation. So she really wasn't,
We really dodged a serious bullet there. Holy shit, man. We just totally dodged a big one.
But, what's to come in the future? I mean, all we did was buy ourselves some time.
Yeah.
We got to see what's going to go on in the future here, because I think we can't afford to become complacent. The way people got out and voted this last election in November, they're going to have to do it again in 4 years.
Yeah.
And I don't even know that it's going to matter, because you've got the uni party out there that's trying to mess up everything in the deep state. And
like I said a couple of episodes ago, that MAGA demanded blood, and, we haven't seen it at all.
Yeah, we haven't.
That's really concerning,
Yeah, I'm just hoping they're secretly doing some investigations and about
to
lower the hammer and all of a sudden indict the shit out of everybody.
I just don't think we're going to see it.
Yeah, it doesn't look that way. I have my doubts too. But then let's get back to China for a second. Besides the fact that they're a major enemy and they really can't be trusted and stuff. For those idiots out there that still think climate change is a thing and the Green Deal thing and how the United States should be taking the lead in the Green Deals and the climate, all that crap. Here's a statistic for all you. China is the world's largest emitter of carbon dioxide, accounting for over 31% of total global CO2 emissions in 2023 alone. They also contribute to 30% of global greenhouse gas emissions and 90% of the growth in CO2 emissions since 2015. So who should take the lead in climate change?
But don't they get like an exemption for their emissions? And the United States has to pay?
Not anymore. We shouldn't.
Yeah, supposedly.
I think Trump just did an executive order to push back on those climate change, Green Deals crap.
Yeah.
Stupid hoax thing that it is. But anyway, China, they pollute more than any nation in the entire world. And yet they get the pass. Is that it? You know what? If anybody's going to start doing green deals or start working on climate, environmental control and all that stuff, maybe it should be China. We don't need to. We're not giving off that much CO2. And besides the fact that trees and shrubs pull all that in and in return give us fresh oxygen. So we really, climate change is a big hoax. But I just thought I would add that to all these dipshits out there that think that, we should worry so much about green deals and stuff when China's the one giving off the most. And while they were trying to tell us that we need to go electric and we need to stop using fossil fuels, well, China is the leader in fossil fuel usage with coal and everything else. So stop being hypocrites, you people on the left. You're just,
well, their point's not even valid. It's just a mute talking point that they want to cry about and raise a stink about, and and they show their true colors, especially when they go and attack the Tesla centers and key up all the Tesla cars and stuff. So it's like they're a bunch of fucking hypocrites.
Yeah. Oh, and here's another true story. for those that think that the Chinese are nice people and stuff, well, some of them are. Some of them are. Um, Most of them are reserved because that's part of their culture. And the thing is, too, is you can't trust the Chinese people. Some you can. I mean, there's some that are actually now legitimate citizens. But years ago, I was heavy into paddle racing, like rowing and dragon boat racing, canoeing, kayaking, all that stuff. And I was on an international team here in the States, and we had a college student from China. Okay. And I got to know him pretty well. He spoke pretty good English. So I asked him why because this guy was like in his 40s, and all of a sudden he's going to college. He was sent over from China to go to college and take classes. He said he was over here to take classes and do business, conduct business. Couldn't get anything out of him as far as what business. So right there, I didn't trust him because he's very quiet and wouldn't give out any information. Business? See, that's what they do. That's what they do with our sister cities all over. They say, oh, it's about business. Meanwhile, a guy in his 40s who's a businessman for China that's going to school, college, over here and not over there. Why are they sending him over here when he's in his 40s if he's a businessman from China to do more college when he's a businessman from China? Okay. You don't think he wasn't a spy? Because I do. I think 100% he was a spy. And people are like, well, why would they spy? Why would the college students be spies? And why would they be spies in certain cities? Why wouldn't they? Okay. Do you know the college that he was at, the university that he was at, also has Army ROTC program, the officers program. You don't think that maybe he wasn't spying a little bit on some of the training or inquiring about it?
Right.
Okay. So tell me again that you don't believe that some of these students aren't spies?
Right.
Okay. I'll tell you what, it's crap. And our former mayor of our city, we know he sold out because he took a good couple trips to China. And he's the reason why we have a sister city in our city that needs to be gone.
Yeah.
And look up your city, folks. Look it up and look up sister city in your city and see if you have a sister city from China. I bet you do, because they're all over the United States and they're in many, many cities across the United States.
Yeah, and those purple lights that you get, those are their way of counting how many people go through a certain area, because they're all hooked up to 5G.
Yeah, 5G. That should be another conversation for another time too, because some of y'all don't believe, because you think it's a conspiracy, that those 5G towers are extremely unhealthy and actually slowly damaging the health and the neurological system up in your brain and your central nervous system. You don't think that they don't? We'll talk about that later, because I got some information about your old 5G towers. Why do you think that some neighborhoods, they actually got in trouble because some of them tore down 5G towers?
Yeah.
They vandalized them. They were attacking them because they knew they didn't want 5G towers.
Yeah. So Tig, let me digress here a little bit. How's that smoke of yours going for you?
Getting down there. These Don Kakis are the best cigar for the money. Best cigar money can buy. They're good for anybody from beginner to intermediate, advanced smokers. They're a very tasty cigar. They stay consistent from beginning to end. They draw nice. They draw smooth. They burn evenly. They are just very good. Outstanding cigar. And Bo, you introduced me to them actually when we had those white limited reserve ones.
Yeah, I still have a few of those in my humidor actually. Probably ain't gonna smoke them for a long time though.
I think you could still get them.
Yeah, I think you can too. I've come across them a few times.
So, folks, Anytime you come across a Don Kaki cigar, it doesn't matter what color the label is. If it says Don Kaki, buy it.
Yeah,
Because
China colors.
Don Kaki is a damn good cigar, and no affiliation to China, by the way.
None.
I'm going to ask you the question, Bull, even though I know the answer. How is your cigar doing? It's a Macanudo.
It's a very tasty smoke. I mean, you just can't go wrong with Macanudos. And I was actually gonna bring a new one on. I picked up this other one, but it was just a monster. I just didn't know if I wanted to smoke it and smoke up the whole place.
They have a Macanudo called the 1997 Limited, and that's an awesome cigar.
Oh yeah, I think I smoked one of those. Those are nice.
Comes with like this gold ring on it. It's like a slip-off ring. No, it's a hardened ring.
Yeah.
And that's a really tasty morsel.
Actually, I got one of those here.
Well,
right here.
Pricey, but very well worth it. It is a phenomenal cigar.
This
yeah,
is the ring
that's the ring it comes in. Yeah, those are good cigars, man.
Very, very good. Yeah. It's a good
yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. So, folks, just keep in mind, communist countries are not our friends. In fact, China, going back to China, let's do a little history. This actually, I think, cost General George Patton his life because he said some things against Franklin Delano Roosevelt, the president of the time, right after World War II. But he said, these are quotes. I mean, he said that, one, we should have finished the job and went right into Russia. At the time, it was the Soviet Union, and it was communist. And he didn't like communists. And he predicted that we would have problems with communist nations in the future if we didn't nip it in the bud after World War II. In fact, General George Patton had the gall to say, we fought for the wrong people with the wrong people, and we should have actually sided with the fascists. He actually said we should have sided with Nazi Germany because he said we should have been fighting against the communists, not the fascists. And he said we should have went up there and eliminated communism before it would become a problem in our history, especially with our constitutional republic. So then, fast forward, this is what he said. And then fast forward, we end up in Korea fighting North Korean communists and the Chinese who fought with them, communists. And then we end up going to Vietnam fighting communists. Then we end up in a Cold War with the Soviet Union because then they were communists.
Right.
So now all of a sudden we're friends with the commies?
Yeah.
Give it a break. And you people that think that it's Russia, and they can't be trusted and all that, maybe Russia can't be fully trusted, but they haven't really been our enemy over the years, even though you want to listen to the stupid phony narrative of the politicians that are trying to deflect the fact that they sold us out to China, the real enemy. Okay, Russia doesn't have any part of their agenda that says that they are going to be communists again. Meanwhile, we have infiltration of the Chinese, the CCP, the Communist Party, and they are a total threat to us. They've always been a threat to us, and it's getting worse, folks. See, this is why we've never been friends with the communists, and we never should have been friends with the communists, especially now, especially with China. And this is why you should never vote Democrat again, never vote for these leftists again, because if you look up the definition of communism, it is a far leftist agenda.
Yeah.
And it is a threat to freedom and liberty, individual freedom and liberty.
The Republic.
Yeah. So don't trust China. Disregard them. Stop buying Chinese products. Read your labels and try to just stop buying Chinese product. And me, I got a loud mouth. So when I see Chinese people in public, I say, yeah, we ought to kick the Chinese out along with the illegals. So I'm sure I embarrass anybody that's going to be with me at any public place when I say that. But you know what? I don't care because I'm calling it like it is. Just like when I hear people running their foreign mouths in public, I'm like, speak English.
Yeah.
Get the hell out. If you're not going to speak English, get out.
Yeah, you did that.
Hell out of my country.
We went out for dinner.
Yeah, get out of my country. Get the fuck out. And if you're Chinese, you should be leaving with the illegals. We should be kicking out every Chinese national in this country, especially that's not a legal citizen. Every Chinese person, from the foreign exchange students to the businessmen to any of them, get them out of here. Kick them out. They need to go. Lucky thing I'm not president. Of course, I'd get a lot of backlash. I'd get a big fight from Congress and that because, they've been licking China's ass for years. They've all been licking China's ass for years, the Democrats and the rhinos. And so this is why we have the problems that we do.
Yeah.
If it's yellow in this country, it is not mellow.
No. So
and I would rather be dead than be red. And I'm not talking about red as in Republican red. I'm talking about red as in commie red.
Right. Yeah. Before when we were talking a little bit about that Schumer and AOC thing, basically that's where the Democrat Party's going. They're going super far left.
Super far left. And you know what? Bernie Sanders is going right with AOC. They're talking now the next ticket. Okay. In 4 years, they're looking at possibly AOC and that old geezer Bernie Sanders running on the same ticket for president. No, it shouldn't happen either. That's total communism right there. That's a commie ticket. And you know what I've always said? You know what the old saying says? The old saying says, kill a commie for mommy.
Yeah. Well, you remember when we were in boot camp, the big thing was Ivan.
Oh yeah. Well, our whole training was fighting against communism back in the Cold War days. Back in the Cold War days. That's we're aging ourselves, folks.
Yeah.
We're aging ourselves. 1987, folks. 1987. Yeah. That's how far back we go. Even though I went back in, of course, after 9/11, but yeah, I'm really aging myself now. Been around, folks. Been around. Yeah. We went from well, I did anyway. Went from fighting communism, training to fight communism, to training to fight terrorists, Muslims, and Islam in the Middle East.
Yeah.
So I'm full cycle here. I'm going back to let's fight the commies.
And we were trained by the Vietnam vets.
We were trained by the Vietnam vets, and man, I'll tell you what, that's no nonsense. That's badass right there. They were badass. The best of the best of the best. I love my Vietnam vets, and I love the training they gave me. I will never forget it. I will never forget the things they taught, and I am a better person and a better trained, better disciplined person because of the Vietnam vets.
Yeah.
They were the best. So if you're out there and you're watching this show and you're a Vietnam vet, thank you. Thank you.
We salute you.
Thank you. We salute you. You guys are the best. You're my favorite. Anywho. Yeah. So now full cycle back to preparing to fight the commies all over again because they are the real enemy. But the problem is now it's a dual thing. We're still got to fight the towel heads from the Middle East, those radical Islamic terrorists, because they're here too. Thanks to the Biden administration or regime.
I'll tell you, my last week here, driving, I witnessed so many. I don't like saying it, just towel heads, but just so many of these foreign people driving, and I don't like one guy going through Chicago, and he had his feet on his dash driving. I could have swore he was like trying to steer this thing with his feet or something, And this is a semi, man. He pulled over and he got like almost tore my mirror off. And I caught up to him and looked at him. I'm like, you son of a bitch, I'm like, you almost hit my truck. I was yelling at him and stuff. And he just looks at me and looks straight ahead. Didn't care.
These foreigners shouldn't be allowed to have licenses, especially if they're not even legal. Okay. Illegals not only shouldn't even be here, but they certainly shouldn't have licenses, and they certainly shouldn't be allowed to vote. Thank God we're starting to take care of that voting ID thing.
Right.
But that's not going to be enforced in blue states. I can tell you that much.
Yeah. unfortunately.
Anyway, we digressed off of China a bit, but that's okay. They're still the enemy. So, moving on.
Yeah, moving on. Did you want to dive into some trending news, or what are you thinking here?
Shall we talk about Blackwater is back?
Yeah, that'd be good.
Blackwater's back.
That's why you wore the hat.
Yeah, Blackwater's a contractor, and they did some jobs in the Middle East, Iraq. There was a controversial thing in Iraq. They ended up basically shutting down, and a new contractor. Well, they converted over to Arcadia, which was the contractor that took over Blackwater. So now we hear that Blackwater has made a comeback. I don't know if they merged with Arcadia or they're just a whole brand new contractor group with an old name.
Right.
But I'll have to look into that.
Yeah, so they made the news again, actually.
Mhm. Well, now they're going to help with the deportations.
Yeah.
But they're setting up FEMA camps too.
Yeah.
So if we think that's a good thing, fine. It is a good thing to help with the deportations. But here's the problem. They're a contractor.
Right.
Unlike the military, they don't have rules of engagement.
I came across where, their involvement, they're saying that they're going to be getting upwards of 500,000 deportations a month.
That's great. But sooner or later, shit's going to hit the fan in this country.
Yeah. And if they're already set up.
If they're set up, folks, they are mercenaries. Most of the guys are trained killers. They come from special ops, infantry groups, and all that from the past. And they're getting paid, right? All they care about is money and the job, okay? Unlike the military, they don't have rules of engagement, all right? You get in their way, they will run you over. They will run you through. They will dust you off. They will completely annihilate you. So here's the thing. If we're ever in a situation where the shit hits the fan and martial law is declared, folks, the military will be the last thing you'll have to worry about. Right. Because they'll still have rules of engagement, whereas the contractors will be running around lawlessness. Yeah. No rules of engagement. You have more to worry about the contractors that are really actually professional hitmen, professional soldiers, soldiers of fortune. You have more to worry about them than you will the military. So, my eyes would be on the Blackwater contractor troops rather than the military troops.
And did you come across that they're going to be running under Blackwater, or is it going to be under Arcadia?
I think it's going to be Blackwater.
I think you're right.
Yep. The name has made a comeback. They are legitimately Blackwater again.
All right.
So I have not heard anything about Arcadia, if they switched over again to Blackwater, or if this is a new contractor that decided that they could use the name or buy out the name or whatever. But
yeah, I think the other company was Academy or something like that. I think that's what
Arcadia.
it was.
Arcadia.
Is it Arcadia? Okay.
Yeah. So, and you know what? Maybe they merged. Maybe they just decided to go back to Blackwater now that the controversial stuff's over with and people have forgot what they did in Iraq. But the old black and tan's back, I guess.
Yeah.
The old black and tan's back. So watch out, folks. They're going to do a lot of good things. But, when those good things are over with, if the shit hits the fan, you're going to have to worry about those contractors in that group more so than the military. So, because let me tell you something, they don't have friends. They just care about the contractor company, their own company.
Either.
Yeah, some of them do, but they don't, they do what they do.
Right.
They don't care. So, yeah, that's heads up, folks. Watch out for the name Blackwater, not Black Rock. That's a corporation. Blackwater. Black Rock's another problem.
Yeah. So that's another story for another time.
Yeah. But Blackwater, a contractor group, and they're not anybody to mess with.
No.
they'll snuff out those illegals. I don't think they will have any interest in deporting them, really. It's like, okay, well, we'll round them up, put them in camps, and we'll ship them out. If they resist, bang, you're dead.
Yep.
So,
And they would encourage insurgencies.
yeah. Most of them carry Glocks for sidearms, and then they all are heavily equipped with AR-15s and fully automatics and stuff like that. They have some shit. They have Humvees. They have everything that they need. So, small armaments, everything you can imagine. Yeah. Folks are like a little military.
Yeah.
Badass guys. Some former SEALs, former Green Berets, former airborne, former infantry, you name it. You know? And they make more money than the U.S. military does, too.
Oh, yeah.
Lots of money. So, with that being said, do we have any news? Yes, we do.
I just kind of wanted to talk a little bit about the helicopter that went down just the other day.
Yeah, and you know what?
Interesting.
A big shot was on board with his family from Spain. A tech boss.
When I first heard about it, I heard that it was a family and, they were sightseeing, and I was like, yeah, right. There's more to this story than what is being let out.
It's still kind of sad because it looks more like a hit. It looks more like they took out a tech boss and his family. Basically, the family was just collateral damage to get to the boss.
Yeah.
Must have known something, must be a whistleblower, something. But they must have followed him to America, and a great place to do it, too, because you see, now Spain, they could investigate it and look at possibly what happened. A lot harder to do it in another country like the United States. And, now they're saying the pilot had reported that he was low on fuel when they had taken off. It's bogus. All right, this is a company that put their stock in the fact that they ran a safe flight tour deal, that they were completely safe and stuff like that. So naturally, before they fly out, they would make sure it's fully fueled. They'd make sure everything was intact, everything was working properly. So why do the blades fly off the chopper, and why does it suddenly get cut and split in half?
Well, I saw a little clip that that wasn't real mainstream, and it almost appeared like something hit just right below where the rotor was, and a part of that plane just went flying off, and then shortly after the propellers flew off.
Yeah.
So I don't know if it was a small, missile of some sorts or what, but
now is our transportation secretary going to fully investigate this to the fullest, or is he going to shovel some shit under the rug?
Yeah.
That's what I would like to know. Remember I said months and months ago that with that first helicopter, I said you're starting to see a lot of planes crashing and a lot of aircrafts now are going to have problems. And it's been one after another since I said that, and now there was a small plane that crashed in Florida, killing 3 people on board. That too.
Yeah, and it could have been a stock trade attack as well. Maybe to boost their stocks or something. That's kind of another thing that was brought up.
Funky stuff going on, folks. Funky stuff that just doesn't pass a smell test at all.
The tech company he belonged to was Siemens, and they're a manufacturer of machine control systems, and they're also infrastructure. So, it's some high tech stuff.
Interesting. Very interesting.
Then there was another deal that went on. There was a small plane that went down. I think it was a twin engine.
I just said that. The Florida one? Or is this a different one?
Yeah, I think.
I just said a small plane in Florida.
Okay.
Crashed. 3 people on board were killed.
Right. That's it.
Yep. That's the one. And that happened, I guess, today.
Yeah.
So do you have any news other than that too? Because I have a few things.
Yeah, go ahead. I'm just pulling up some of mine here.
This was reported. Inflation has dropped 0.1%, and that is the first time it has dropped since COVID.
That was like one whole point, wasn't it?
Yeah, 1 point.
Yeah.
Yeah. CIA report confirms COVID-19 was bioengineered by the Pentagon back in 2017. Imagine that one. That's an interesting little nugget.
Yeah, I guess, speaking that our program was all on China, Xi Jinping's daughter, she lives in Massachusetts, and she's going to school at Harvard, or did go to school at Harvard.
Oh, yeah.
And get this, she has PLA soldiers or security guards. I think Trump should pull the student visas.
I think he should just kick every student from China out of the country.
Yeah, revoke all Chinese.
Revoke their visas, revoke the student visas, get them out of here. They're not legal citizens. Get them out of here. Enough's enough. We're about
from Laura Loomer, so
yeah,
she pulls some weight with the press.
Yeah, so it's a legit report. Pete Hegseth announces billions were wasted and now saved within the Department of Defense. So they're doing the job there. The Labor Secretary also finds that billions were wasted in unemployment benefits given to people that were over 100 years old, given to infants, and people from the future that haven't even been born yet. Billions.
Yeah.
Imagine that.
Hey, I came across this. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
And the Democrats and the leftists are pissed off that they're finding wasteful spending in tax dollars. That is so stupid.
It's hypocritical.
These people are mentally ill.
Yeah.
That they can't get through their brains that, hey, guess what? They're finding wasteful spending all over the place. And they're trying to fix that problem. Folks, your money, your taxpayer. Oh, that's right. Most of the leftists protesting it don't really work for a living. They don't really have to
have handouts.
Yeah, they just want the system to remain intact so that they can, live off their welfare, and so that, their obese, slob, retarded kids can just live off the system too.
Yeah. And play video games.
Yeah. So, sorry, those days got to be over with, folks.
Yeah, they do. Letitia James, she came up in the news here. She in her financial disclosures that she owns 2 homes in Virginia, and she has 2 additional homes in Virginia that are not publicly disclosed. Mm-hmm. And she says that they, she has a mortgage on both of them. And it says that she's owner occupying both. So that's going to be interesting.
Yeah, that'll be real interesting.
But like I said before, I don't think nothing's going to come of it.
No, and it should.
Fucking sad, man. We live in a really shitty.
All these corrupt people need to be brought to justice.
Tig,
But if it happened to you or Eyeball, we'd be looking at jail time and stuff. We'd be looking at Tig, audits and stuff.
I think, you know what, the way we can get around this is that we could run for, some sort of office, and we could do this. We could run for office, get elected, and we could steal taxpaying dollars and
cheat and steal and lie and deceive and do all that good stuff against the American public, like they so well accept right now.
And we'll get away with it. I mean, because they're getting away with it. So why wouldn't we get away with it?
We just have to take money from the right people to sell out the American public on a regular basis.
We're just hypothetically speaking.
Well, we're being a little facetious, of course, folks, but just like the thought of moving to Mexico and coming back illegal, so we could have got all that money.
Yeah, we could have, man. We just totally screwed up, man.
Yeah,
that would have been our retirement.
What a bizarro world we live in,
isn't it? Though.
Yeah, jeez, it is messed up completely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I tell you what, the people that are honest and the people that are legit and the people that work their asses
Totally get
off,
screwed
they're
over.
the ones that are scraping for the crumbs off the floor.
Yeah, and this administration's concerning me,
Mm,
because number one, they're totally, using exactly what the Democrats did to build wealth, and what it's doing is it's taken away from the middle class. So there is a wealth movement, and it's going more towards the super rich.
yeah, and that's a weapon that the Democrats are using right now
Yeah,
against them. That's their whole thing. And so I don't think they're moving fast enough to bring all the corruption to justice either. But
they
we'll
ain't
see.
gonna do it. They
We'll
ain't gonna do
see.
it. Greg.
We're still only a few months in, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. We got
Yeah,
got a few years yet, so we'll see. Anything can happen.
yeah,
What a difference even a year can make. So we'll see what happens.
right.
Um, Going back to the CCP, by the way, Facebook and Meta were building a bridge between the CCP and U.S. Getting backdoor access to Americans' info and giving it to the CCP, the Chinese Communist Party. Imagine that. You
Uh,
know, but Meta and Zuckerberg and the people that work for Facebook, they need to be taken down too.
yeah.
Really, they do. They're a bunch of dirtbags.
Well, notice, I'm not on Facebook much anymore. I just kind of more or less pulled the plug on it. So just
Yeah,
a little bit here and there, and I'm done.
I'm still on it, but I don't. That's because I don't want the bitches to win.
Did, did they? I thought I came across a post of yours. Did they censor you or
Oh, I was, yeah. My main account was banned for 30 days again.
really? I
Yeah,
thought that
yeah.
it was over with.
No, I guess
What did you say?
Zuckerberg's full of shit. I forget what I said, but it was, more truth and stuff. It was just aimed at liberals, and it's just one of those things.
And
Um,
it's funny.
I'm
All
a
the
bully.
liberals.
I'm a bully for defending conservatism. I'm a bully for telling the liberals what like it is. I'm a bully for saying that transgenderism is nothing more than a mental illness.
Yeah,
So, yeah, I'm a bully. I'm a
yeah,
bully
the
for
truth.
telling the truth. Yeah.
Yeah,
So, yeah, well, hey, Facebook, see the middle finger?
yeah,
Mm-mm. And by the way, I still have multiple accounts in which I was able to be on anyway. So, fuck you, Facebook. All right, I got aliases up the ass, man. You're never going to stop me. I'll just jump on my other account and keep
yeah,
rolling with that. So,
yeah,
screw you. I can still get my message about out and about.
yeah,
So,
yeah. That's pretty funny.
yeah.
So, you got any last parting words?
Did you hear about that woke Colonel Suzanne Myers from? She commanded the Greenland base. She was from the air. What is it? The Space Force. She just lost her commission, lost her job because she was speaking out against while J.D. Vance had visited Greenland. So she spoke out against him and the Trump agenda for Greenland. And so she got canned. you know, I think she was fairly woke anyway. And,
Yeah,
I've been highly critical of Space Force anyway. So it doesn't really matter, but that happens. She got dunked. I'll tell you what, that's the funny thing about it is really you would think that a person would have a right to speak out against the president, speak their mind in a free country where we have a constitution of free speech. But problem is when you're in the military, that does not apply. The Constitution does not apply to the military. It's property of the government. So, as a citizen, we have the right to free speech. When you work for the government, when you are military, that does not apply. So if you speak out against the president and you are a high ranking officer, you will be fired. I mean,
yeah,
it's as simple as that. And you'll probably be retired too.
right.
Probably take an early retirement,
Yeah,
under not so great of conditions. So, they'll probably before they make you retire, they'll make you retire at a lower rank
yeah.
so that your
That's
pay is
true.
not going to be as great. So,
Yep, yep.
And then we heard this came out too that the lobbyists for cattlemen and pork associations in several states have confirmed they will be using the mRNA vaccines in hogs and cows starting this month. Gonna have to be careful
That's
about what
not
you eat
good.
for meat.
Yep.
That's not good. You don't want that shit in your
Oh,
system.
by the way, if you're looking for some beef tig, I got a line on some if you want to go in on
Yeah,
it.
I told you
You
that
know.
before. Just
Okay.
say the word. Tell me what
All
it's
right.
gonna cost me, and we'll get
All
on
right.
it.
All right.
So I
It's
got an
really
upright
good, man.
I got an upright freezer. My girlfriend, she had it in storage, and so
All
since
right.
she's going to
Cool.
be moving in with me, she let me have it. So I got it right down here next to my
Awesome.
other refrigerator, and I just got to clean it up and ready to fill it up with meat
All right. Did you?
because because it's un-American and unmasculine, and it just plain humanly isn't right to be a vegan. Eat the
No.
meat, folks.
Yep. Did you see those rhinos? There's a couple in Texas that they're proposing a bill to stop Trump from doing excessive tariffs.
Yeah, yeah, I seen that. What a bunch of
There's like
dirtbags.
4 Republicans that are bringing it to,
Yeah.
bringing it to the floor.
Well,
It'll get shot down by, it'll get shot
well,
down by the speaker, but
you see, they believe that in the Constitution that tariffs is only reserved for Congress, for the legislative branch. Um, but there was a president that did do tariffs, and he was successful with it. This is Congress; they're sellouts.
yeah,
They just don't like the fact that Trump's doing it, and that they don't,
right,
and that they're not doing it because they wouldn't do it. So
yeah,
they don't like him getting the credit for doing something that might actually be successful to our economy.
right,
Then I've heard some negative things about tariffs too, how it could affect the consumer because costs could go up, who knows, in consumer goods. I said a long time ago, though, I would rather pay more for a good quality American product than a cheap foreign product. And then
yeah,
that money goes back to the American worker and puts food on the American families' tables. I'd
yeah,
rather do it that way. I'd rather reinvest in America. So,
yeah, absolutely.
at
I'm
a
for
higher
tariffs. I
cost,
mean,
maybe, but
yeah, I'm for tariffs because eventually it's going to work out to our advantage. So
yeah. And so,
it's just a short term kick in the shot, kick in the
yeah,
crotch. But
you just got a bunch of dirt bags that are working for the deep state.
yeah,
Rhinos. It's a uni party, and they're all dirtbags. I don't see where it made much difference to have a majority in the House with the Republicans because it's just time and time again they still work with the Democrats. They show who they really are.
they're fucking weak. Let's
Yeah.
just face it. They're just weak ass.
Well, they're all taking payments from the same corporations and the
Yeah.
same NGOs, so that's the way it
Yeah.
is.
Yep.
I know Chevy and Ford contribute to both parties, so there
Yeah.
you go.
Right.
It's kind of like that thing where it's a win-win for the corporations,
Yeah.
but then the politicians got to be in line with each other.
Right.
So
Hey, any final words on your cigar there?
I finished it. It's
Oh,
a
did
damn
you?
good
Okay.
cigar. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
It's a very good cigar.
Yep. Yep.
Don Kiki, folks. If you want to smoke a good cigar, you'll never go wrong with a Don Kiki.
Same with the Macanudo Black and
Macanudo,
Colorado.
Archie Bunker's cigar, Macanudo.
Yep. Yep.
Folks,
You guys will dig it.
if you're not suspicious and not a little paranoid, you're not prepared. Stay prepared.
Yeah, my final words are quit spraying the fucking skies.
Yeah, no
Period.
shit.
I just want to throw this out there. Since the last episode, I smoked that Buffalo Trace. Did you see what happened to the Buffalo Trace distillery in Kentucky? It's all flooded. It's underwater right now.
And those floods are by design, weather modification. They're also quite
right.
biblical in prophecy, by the way, too.
And then another one too, Tig, is that Ohio just experienced a really massive flood. So
yeah. Well, the whole entire South is supposed to experience floods. That's coming. and noticed that there wasn't any massive rain or hurricanes that caused those floods. So I don't know how they got flooded in Kentucky.
Geez, all that spraying and all that silverish stuff that gets coated on your vehicles.
Well, okay, the last rain gave you silver crap. The rain before that gave you brown crap.
Yeah.
Imagine that. When have you ever in your lifetime seen tainted rain that was discolored, that left a colored film on your vehicles and stuff?
And that brown one was really nasty, though.
Yeah, it had parasites in it. It's not healthy. And they're doing it on purpose. If they did it in Vietnam with Agent Orange, you can imagine they're spraying right now is how it's going to affect people in the future. So that's today's Agent Orange right now. Stop spraying the frickin' skies.
Yep.
Kennedy Jr., that our Department of Health and Human Services needs to get on this.
Yeah, I think the next step is to start placing lawsuits on the commercial airlines, because what they're doing is they're spraying hazardous material in our atmosphere.
The U.S. Air Force is helping out too, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I mean, well, we can start with the airlines, because they're the ones we could actually win against.
Yeah, we could file crime against humanity on them.
Yep.
So.
And that shit will get shut down pretty fast.
Yeah.
So,
well, they need to get on it.
Yeah. So we held the show over a little bit longer, and we thank you for following Stars, Bars, and Cigars. You can find us on Rumble. Tonight we're on Rumble, YouTube, and Twitch. We're also on just regular audio with Podbean. We're also on Spotify, iHeartMedia, Google, all of them. Alexa was another one. So thank you for following us. Our numbers really jumped.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Keep watching. Stay tuned.
Yeah, thank you. And with that, I think we're pretty much done tonight.
Done.
You've been listening to Stars, Bars, and Cigars. Two conservative vets telling it like it is. The rally cry for those who appreciate bold truths served with a side of mayhem.
Roger, outside, decide before, copy all. We'll keep them sweating until we see Butcher 3. Out.
We hope you've enjoyed the show. If you did, make sure to like, rate, and review. And if you didn't, well, why are you still here, Snowflake? We'll be back soon, but in the meantime, follow us on Rumble, YouTube, Facebook, Spotify, and hear our precious voices on all the streaming services. Until next time, keep the spirit of freedom roaring.